All right, so you guys want Legends Arceus leaks? Here they are. Hello everybody, Blaine here for Bridge4 Games. So yeah, I posted that poll earlier today on YouTube, and you guys told me overwhelmingly so that you want to know all about the Pokemon Legends Arceus news. So we're going to be delivering all of that to you right now. So it's actually really lucky that I posted that earlier today, because we got even more leaks this afternoon covering stuff that has not been announced yet that is pretty interesting. So we're going to be covering a lot of stuff like some Pokemon news regarding the gameplay in the games, but we also have potential leaks on some new forms for some legendaries, which we are going to be covering in this video. And on top of that, we also have some news about an official announcement that may be coming later this week relating to some information about Pokemon Legends Arceus. So sit back, we have a ton of news we got to get through, and we're going to go ahead and dive into these leaks right now. But before we do, I just want to take a second to ask that if you like the videos we have here on the channel, please make sure that you actually like them by hitting the thumbs up button, and of course consider subscribing to the channel to become part of our amazing Pokemon community to make sure that you never miss any of the awesome videos like this one. Oh yeah, and before we dive into the leaks, I just want to address something really quick. So back in my video where I talked about downgrading Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl from 1.1.2 back to 1.1.1 and if that was even possible, a couple people were in there posting that my videos were too long or I was trying to pad my runtime. I can assure you that's not the case. In my videos, I do pretty deep dives into pretty much any information that you guys want to know of. And my videos are exactly as long as they need to be to cover all the information in there. So that video was 12-13 minutes because it needed to be. I wanted to try those methods out and make sure they worked or not. And that's simply how I operate my channel. I make sure all of my information is thorough, and I present that to you so you can make informed decisions about what you want to do with your games and how you can play your Pokemon games to get the most out of them. So I don't pad my videos, they are as long as they need to be, and I hope you guys enjoy the amount of effort I'm putting into them to make sure I give you guys all this information. Alright, that is all out of the way now. Let's go ahead and talk about some leaks. Alright, so first up, regarding the announcement about an official announcement this week, Kelios, obviously one of the best, Pokemon, outlets for leaks, things like that, has posted here information on Pokemon Legends Arceus in advance this week. Now, it's not going to sound perfect because this is Google Translate, which we all know how well that works, but it does say here, the official Japanese site added the domain name hisuiresearch.pokemon.co.jp. Now, this is really, really big news because Pokemon likes to kind of announce their new mons through research, or kind of stylize it that way. The last time we had, research was when they announced Hisuian Zorua and Zoroark, when we had that the professor or expedition kind of guy made a very grisly end in pursuing these two. But it is really interesting that they are going to be releasing this information so soon after the Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl release. It does make sense because we are a couple weeks out of it now, so obviously they want to keep people hyped about the new games coming because it is going to be easy to forget about them given that BDSP are the holiday time games. But it is really cool to see that we are going to be getting some information very soon because this domain has gone up. Now, we don't know exactly when it's going to go up, but it's most likely going to be this week. I am recording this on Monday, December 6th, 2021, so it could come out Tuesday, Thursday this week, but, if it doesn't, it could be next week. So keep an eye out, check the domain periodically because there will be information there sooner or later, and when it is, we will cover it right here on the channel, obviously, for all of you. So, very cool news, but now let's get into more of the leaks, not so much of the news. So, first up, we have good old Riddler Coup has revealed what seems to be a large chunk of the Hisuian Pokedex. So, as we see here, he posted a lot of numbers that correspond to national Pokedex numbers. Now, he said it's a sneak peek of the Hisuian Pokedex. I don't believe it's complete because it's not that, huge. We see maybe 100 or so mons here. So, it's interesting to see kind of how this is all put together. Now, we do see the colorings here correspond to the types of these Pokemon, and I kind of did like a quick checking it against the mons that I knew to make sure that, this appeared to be correct. And so far it does. I mean, like 399 and 400, that's Bidoof and Bibarel. And obviously Bibarel is normal and water, which we are seeing here. But it was interesting just to see kind of what was going on. And a lot of people were kind of wondering exactly what was here. So a very wonderful person on Twitter actually went ahead and put that together for us. So as you can see here, we are seeing the 3 Hisuian starters. So we have Rowlet, Cyndaquil, and Oshawott. We don't know about their other forms as of yet. We will get to that in a minute, but they did put the normal, typical stage 3 forms here, just to kind of be the placeholder. So we do see all of those. We also see a lot of other Sinnomons, because we see, obviously this region is like a, early sort of Sinnoh. So we are seeing a lot of Pokemon that you would traditionally associate with the Sinnoh region. Now, we do see, Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup here, as well as all their evolutions, which is awesome. We see, Starly, Bidoof, Kricketot, Shinx, everything you would expect to see. Now, what's interesting is there are some mons that I believe were confirmed earlier that I don't see on here. I don't see Chingling, which we did see in one of the early trailers. So that could be in the national decks. So this could just be the early, Sinnoh decks that you get in the games. But, obviously do keep in mind, it seems like all these mons are going to be in the Hisuian Pokedex, which is really, really cool. And there are some very interesting things to note here. So based on the number ranges provided, it most likely looks like not only we see Rotom here, which kind of makes sense again, because we have that, prehistoric, weird like old cell phone kind of thing, which I don't know how that works, but whatever, it's Pokemon. But it does look like Porygon is going to be in the games too. Now we don't see it on here. Obviously this is not complete, but it is kind of a peek of what's going to be in there. And based on, again, the ranges, it looks like the Porygon family is going to be included. And we see almost all the legendaries in here as well. We see Heatran, Giratina, Dialga, and Palkia. More on them as well coming up in a little bit. But what I find most importantly here, we see the mythicals, that's all cool. The Guardians, neat. We see Manaphy and Phione. Now, Manaphy makes sense. Obviously, it's a legendary that we all know about. But what is unique about Phione? How do we get Phione in the games? We have to breed Manaphy with a Ditto. So, based on that, we can assume that breeding is going to be in the games. Now, Riddler Koo did post a couple weeks ago a thing that said, like, pick one of these features to stay, if he had to only pick one. And it was like, I think IVs and EVs, something like held items, and one of them was breeding. So it does seem like, potentially held items may not be in the game, but breeding still is, because that's the only way some of this is going to work. And, as a result of that, I am going to pretty much think that, breeding is going to be confirmed to be in the games. And it kind of makes sense, because you do want to help to kind of fill out your Pokedex and to get kind of the multiple forms of your starters if you do want to have like a living dex. So I'm actually happy that's in there. Again, I would like to see all the, mechanics and all the features return, but breeding is really cool and I am glad it's in the game. All right, so now all that being said, let's talk about the Hisuian forms. Now, Riddler Koo posted this on Twitter. He only posted the top half with the dark like squares. So based on the information he's been kind of leaking out so far, people were able to take all that and kind of put together what they think is going on here based on what he's provided. Now, so as we can see, we know that there are going to be, according to Riddler Koo, 17 Hisuian variants that are going to be in the game. Now, there are 17 Pokemon here that do seem to be able to fit. Now, we're going to go over these because based on their colorings, it suggests what kind of types they may be, which is really, really interesting. Now, based on that, we see Growlithe and Arcanine, which are believed to be fire and rock type. We do know Growlithe is definitely can be confirmed to be fire and rock, but Arcanine doesn't necessarily have to be, although it's probably going to be. That would make sense. And then it looks like Voltorb and Electrode are grass fire. And then we see, Typhlosion being potentially dark and fire. It looks like Sneasel being, what I'm going to guess is poison and fighting. And then Quillfish being poison dark. We know how good that typing is. Samurott being sort of water and dark. Again, that makes sense. Lilligant being grass dark is very interesting to me. I don't know about that one yet. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And then we see Basculin. And then we have Hisuian, Zoro and Zorak. We have those confirmed as normal and ghost. And then we see the Flying Psychic Braviary. Then we see the Dragon, Steel, Sliggoo, and Goodra, which is really cool. I don't know why Gumi's not on here, and that's... All right, let's just talk about that now. So, Gumi is not on here. I would assume if the middle and the final stages are Hisuian forms that, Gumi would be also, but, I don't know why it's not. I mean, obviously we've seen that before with, like, Raichu, Executor, things like that, so it wouldn't be totally unprecedented. But I do think, Lilligant or Sneasel, those have been presented with sort of less justification than some of the other ones he's posted. So I feel like those are some slots that could be open potentially. This is also kind of wishful thinking on my part, but I would love to see a Hisuian Gumi. But it is equally possible that we will get the Sneasel, Quillfish, and Lilligant. But what's really interesting too is the Basculin, because we know we're getting Basculegion, which is an evolution, not necessarily a form change. But it's also looking like we may have a new form for Basculin also. So I think this is really, really cool. Obviously, I'm very excited about getting some of these mons, and I think that, having access to this many new mons is going to be really cool. The other thing really noteworthy is it's looking like grass fighting for Decidueye. I think that's actually a pretty interesting typing. It's very weak to flying, which kind of stinks, but, Decidueye is no stranger to having a lot of weaknesses, so that kind of is, okay. But again, a lot of forms here, a lot of ones that are, to some degree confirmed by a very trusted source in Riddler Coup. So I'm very interested to see what actually, ones of these do pan out. Now, and yeah, again, do remember, Riddler Coup only posted the boxes here, but people have been keeping, basically archival records of everything he's been tweeting. So I do take, even though this is a fan-created graphic, everything we do have here in the pictures is extremely credible, and some of it's actually confirmed. So being able to really, figure out that we're going to get this many new forms in the game is really, really cool. But we also know there are Pokemon nobles in the games, right? Those really big, bosses you have to deal with. That's how we found out about Cleavor, the, evolution of Scyther. So he posted something today that talks about what is probably going to be a new one of those. So let's dive right in. Now, how do I put this? Let's just say that the graphic that we posted today, some parents may be offended if very young children are going to see this. So, I don't know. Slight viewer discretion advised for this particular part of the leaks. I don't know. So anyways, Pokemon Nobles. As we see here, we have Lady Gaga in a very skimpy outfit, representing some genre of Pokemon. So, as we see here in the red bordered image, this was the original leak that Riddler Coup posted a while ago, and each one kind of corresponds to different, Mons and things like that. So as we know, 4, that's most likely where a lot of the Voltorb Electrode stuff is coming from. Makes sense. 7 there, you can't see the 7, but that's, people are suspecting that's how it relates to Quillfish. 8 was confirmed to be relating to Goodra, which is really, really cool. Obviously, it's, a steel ring here, which is why it's going to be Steel Dragon. But 5 was this anime girl. Nobody had any idea what they were talking about. And today he dropped this, a better impression for Hint 5. So, what do we take away from this? Well, based on what a lot of people are theorizing online and what a lot of people are able to deduce, the Pokemon that's going to be a Noble is very likely going to be a very overly feminine-looking Pokemon. Now, there are some of those in the game. We have Lopunny. You could make an argument for Leavanny. Some people are saying, Lilligant, like we mentioned on the previous screen. I think also one of the ones that should be a very serious contender is Jinx, which a lot of people are thinking. So, the reasons why we think Jinx is a very possible candidate here. So, Jinx and Mr. Mime have always been kind of like a pair together, right? So like they both are very, very terrifying looking, and they're both ice type. Mr. Mime is now Ice Fairy, but Jinx is Ice Psychic, so kind of similar there. But back in Sword and Shield, Mr. Mime got a ton of new stuff. He got the new Pokemon treatment. He got a new, Galarian form as well as a new evolution, and Jinx has not had anything new done to her as of yet. So I think it'd be interesting for them to do that, especially because they really are making a push to kind of make all the Gen 1 Mons have some sort of new relevance. And we're seeing, Scyther getting a new treatment, and, obviously Mr. Mime has now, so it wouldn't surprise me if, Jinx was right behind. And as we see here, based on, the outfit, look, we know what Jinx looks like. She has a somewhat revealing or suggestive design to her. And we also know that aside from that, though, in some of the games, Jinx has been known to sing. She gets she gets access to the move Sing. And I believe she sings in one of the Pokemon Snap games. So it is possible with it being a singer, in Lady Gaga here, that is kind of more of a hint there as well. Again, that's just kind of a lot of people theorizing here. We don't have a hard confirmation on this, but do keep in mind the next Noble that is probably going to be revealed, the next boss, is probably going to be one of those extremely, overly feminine looking Pokemon. So just something to keep an eye on. And, keep in mind, this could be the day that we got the first idea about Jinx being a Noble. So, all right, now let's go. We're kind of done with some of the Pokemon themselves. Let's talk about the gameplay, because there's just as much there that we need to cover. So, as we can see, we have a lot here. So, Riddler Coup earlier, I believe yesterday, said here, hardcore gameplay embodies reasonable resource allocation in Pokemon Legends Arceus. You should pay attention to berries, ores, and other Pokemon drops. You need to buy item slots when the game progresses, craft balls and throw them effectively, and avoid senseless recollecting and make it a smooth AP. So I think he's trying to say make it as smooth as possible. But that being said, it does seem like this is going to be very true to how a lot of people are sort of associating this with being like Monster Hunter. That's kind of what we're seeing here based on what Riddler Coup is saying. So we do know the games are not open world, right? They have like a home base, You go on your mission, you do your stuff, and then you come back home for dinner. That is just like how Monster Hunter works, and that's what we're seeing here as well. So he's saying that, you need to really make sure you're picking up those items, much like in, a Fallout game or things like that. You need to be collecting those items to make the things that you need. So crafting Pokeballs is going to be in the game, and also because you're going to be able to craft things out of ores. So that's very cool. It's very interesting to see that take on a Pokemon game. Now, after that, he also says this game has the longest gameplay time span in the mainline genre. Your final goal is now catching Arceus. He says, wonder how many players will actually finish it. And besides completing the Hisuian Pokedex if you don't want a shiny hunt. And so what I find really interesting here is he's saying the game is so long and so challenging that many people may not even finish it. And what's interesting is that the end goal is catching Arceus, who, has so much design behind it and is such an important Pokemon because it's effectively God in the Pokemon universe. So making that your end goal where you have to capture God is pretty interesting because it really shows that Pokemon is trying to step up the level of difficulty because, let's be honest. So even, the Ultra Necrozmas, the good AI Cynthias, with high level, even those are not, as a Pokemon game, they are not difficult in terms of comparing them to other games that exist in the world, but they are enjoyable. Obviously, I love Pokemon. I have a channel devoted to Pokemon, but it's interesting to keep in mind that they're really trying to expand and kind of, redesign certain aspects of the franchise, and they are making this game that appears to be a real challenging outing, which is really, really cool. And, this is really expanded on with the leak here we have from Centro. It says, all the things Riddler Coup said, but also if you, faint on a mission, you can lose the items you picked up, which is really kind of a different feel from Pokemon. Like if you've been knocked out in the past, you lose cash, but now you lose stuff that you may need to actually progress the game, which is nuts. Then it says some items may be rare drops by bosses, and you can imagine losing those. That would be pretty devastating, especially like if you beat the Pokemon and then get knocked out, you could lose something that you'd have to basically go all the way back to the beginning to try all over again, which is pretty crazy for a Pokemon game. I mean, obviously, we've seen things sort of like that in the past, but never to this extent, and seeing this is really, really cool. So that being said, also somebody asked Riddler Coup here on Twitter, are shinies shown in the overworld like in Let's Go? And Riddler Coup just says, yep. And he says, by the way, some species are alert and will run away if disturbed. So, first of all, it looks like Overworld Shinies are coming back, which is a very, very welcome addition to the games. And having species be alert and run away, that's really cool too. It just adds more of that realism to the games, which is something people have always wanted in Pokemon games, and is really awesome. So keep in mind, guys, it's going to be not open world, but again, very challenging, very difficult, and there are going to be Overworld Shinies, which is awesome. So this has the potential to be kind of the most realistic and in-depth game we've seen in a very long time, and that's really, really awesome because it's something that we've been needing for kind of a while, and I'm really excited to see this. Now, going on from there, we did get the new information today regarding Dialga and Palkia. Riddler Coup, now we kind of got to go through this because this is a little complicated. I know this doesn't look like anything, concrete, but let's talk about it. So, as we see here, Riddler Coup posted this Chinese post, here today, which my girlfriend is actually from China, and she told me it is complete gibberish. And if you do translate it, it appears to be gibberish as well. So we didn't really know what this was supposed to be. It is literally like if you just pick random words, sling them together and say them, that's what this basically means. However, if you read them out loud in Chinese, it phonetically sounds like Origin DP Dragons are the final bosses. Now, I didn't believe this, and I had my girlfriend read it out loud, and it sounds exactly like that. So, again, keep in mind, this sentence, this Chinese sentence here, does not make sense. It is not an actual sentence. It is just assemblage of words. But to the English-speaking ear, it sounds like Origin DP Dragons are final bosses. Now, what does that mean? Well, as we know in Diamond and Pearl, so first off, some people were thinking this is related to like the forces of nature. Riddler Coup basically said there's no chance. And obviously we know it's not the Gen 5 dragons because we are in the Proto-Sinnoh region. So, as we know, the four big legendaries of the region, and I'm going to say the creation legendaries, we have Arceus, who is basically all the types, so that doesn't count. But then we have Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. Now, all three of those are dragon type, in addition to being Steel, Water, and Ghost, respectively. Now, Giratina, in Pokemon Platinum, did get its origin form if it's holding the Greasiest Orb. Now, it did make it, from being a much more defensively oriented Pokemon to a much more offensively oriented Pokemon. Now, it seems like Dialga and Palkia are going to be getting their origin forms in, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and they're going to be the final bosses before catching Arceus. Now, this is pretty crazy to me because it's really wild that we may get these forms and we've had no news about it so far, because it seems like something they'd want to announce kind of early to really kind of draw you in. But this seems to be a very real possibility at this point, because Pokemon is giving out a lot less information these days than it used to. I mean, I don't know if if you happen to be around for Sun and Moon, the games were literally entirely spoiled before they came out, like by Pokemon themselves. So, for me, when I was getting ready to play them, I knew the entire game, start to finish, no muss, no fuss, no problem, But with Sword and Shield, they really started kind of dialing that back. And, we had some Pokemon that we didn't really even know about until the games were out. And it looks like that's kind of how they're operating now, because this is really huge, because Riddler Coup, again, did not go outright and say this, confirmed, but we do have very likely new forms for Dialga and Palkia that may be in Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is awesome, because it makes sense. They should join, Giratina and having those new forms. And obviously, I'm really excited about this because, competitively speaking, we know these Pokemon will be home compatible at some point, but Dialga is Steel Dragon and Palkia is Water Dragon, which both of those types are incredibly strong competitively, and being able to have access to those mons with the stats that those two bring is awesome. So having new forms could be a really, really big deal, and I'm very excited to see if this is real or not. But make sure you guys keep an eye out, because if we do get any confirmation on this, I'm going to drop it right away, because this kind of news is so awesome that it needs to be shared as soon as it's announced. So keep an eye out, keep an eye on the channel, and we are going to cover all the new news as it drops. So there you have it, everybody. That is all the news we have right now for Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, it is a lot of leaks that came from some different places that we kind of had compiled for us. So do keep in mind, it's coming from all over, but at this point, we do believe all of it is from some very credible sources. So while we can't 100% say, yes, this is going to be in the games exactly like this for sure, it does look very likely that all of this stuff is going to be in Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I am very excited to see it all when the games do release in January. So that being said, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it interesting, and most importantly, I hope this video has you absolutely hyped for Pokemon Legends Arceus, because it is going to be here before you know it. And keep in mind, everybody, we're going to be giving away a copy here on the channel. All you need to do is be a subscriber and comment on any of our videos, and we are going to randomly pick someone to win a copy of Pokemon Legends Arceus to celebrate our hitting 1,000 subscribers earlier this year. And also, guys, if we do get to 2,000 subscribers by the time the games come out, we are going to be giving away a second copy of the game. So make sure you guys are subscribing to the channel to make sure that that happens, because we want to give away as many games as possible to get this game into as many hands as possible. So that being said, everybody, if you did like the video, please make sure that you absolutely giga impact that like button, and of course consider subscribing, because we have an awesome Pokemon community here and we want all of you to be a part of it. As always, everybody, remember that the best Pokemon games are the ones that you love to play, and the proper ways to play them are however you have the most fun. I hope each and every one of you have an awesome, epic, and amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. See you around. Bye-bye!